The sun is shining, water is wet, and I'm talking about Godzilla. Good morning, after evening, my beautiful people. My name is All Night, and monster fans stay winning. With Godzilla and Kong the New Empire still slamming out that box office dough in theaters right now, we have to ask ourselves if the Monsterverse will continue this growth outside of movies. And we already have our answer. This info's coming at you hot over on the Gormaru Island Twitter account. If you are a Kaiju fan, Godzilla fan, Tokusatsu fan, you owe it to yourself to give this guy a follow. They are always reporting on the latest Godzilla news, be it Kaiju related, Godzilla crossovers. They did a lot of coverage of Giga Bash, all that good stuff. Go follow Gormaru on Twitter. You owe it to yourself. But this latest information comes from the Monsterverse Legendary licensing deal that they are working on right now. Basically, through the licensing program, Legendary is looking to expand the Monsterverse even more outside of movies with more crossover content. We've already seen this stuff in a lot of the product placement we had for Godzilla and Kong. Think the chocolate bars from FYE, there's Boba Tea, you've got the Call of Duty crossover, and the upcoming mobile release, Godzilla and Kong Titan Chasers. But there's one final tidbit that Legendary was able to give us when it came to this licensing program, and it's right here. A video game developed by 7 Levels to create a PC and console game coming out later this year. So immediately, BAM! Monsterverse game coming out this year by the developer 7 Levels. What does that mean? For those of you unaware, 7 Levels are an indie developer in the space that have their work cut out for them, I'll be honest. If you flip through their website, you will see a lot of puzzle games, kind of mobile-related releases, some sports games. However, there are 2 noticeable titles that I want to talk about. That being Castle of Heart and their latest release, Jet Cave Adventure. If you haven't heard about these games, I don't blame you. A majority of these games actually released on the Switch first before heading to other consoles. From what I can see, this developer's pedigree, their specialty, is in 2D platformers. Specifically 2D platformers that really have good storytelling in their environments. I'm being serious when I say that Jet Cave Adventure actually seems like a really fun platformer. It just released in February of this year on Switch. It's on other consoles right now. It's only $15. I'm debating trying it out just to see what this developer's, sensibilities are when it comes to platforming. But from what I can see, and based on overall perception and reception of Jet Cave Adventure, as well as Castle of Heart, these guys know how to make a good platformer. Now, just why the hell am I talking about their platformers all night? We've got a Monsterverse game. Is this not a beat-em-up or an adventure game? 1 second. Hold your horses there, Chief. Also, in this statement from Legendary, we can confirm that the title will combine the genres of action, adventure, and platform games, and the whole thing will be enriched with a realistic audio-visual setting. Other couple things we want to keep in mind here. The game will take place after Godzilla vs. Kong, and the events of the game will take place shortly after the aftermath of the final fight. The player will survive in the desolation of a ruined city. For this, they will use, among other things, the colossal strength of the Titans. The key word there, platform. It sounds to me like this is going to be a platformer set in Hong Kong. Now, immediately I hear your outcries, bro, hard pass, this is gonna be a stupid mobile game, it's gonna be a hard skip. We want more Pipeworks Godzilla Trilogy goodness. We want an arena brawler. We want more Godzilla fighting games. I hear ya, but let them cook for a second. Based on the breadcrumbs that we've been given just from this initial announcement, I have a feeling that I know how the game could potentially play out, if they're really cooking down there at 7 Levels. Let's focus on 3 things that we know. It's set place shortly after Godzilla vs. Kong. You have to survive in Hong Kong after it has been desolated by the final fight of the movie, and it's a platformer. What happened after the events of the final fight in Godzilla vs. Kong? Those 2 laid the smackdown on the mechanized terror known as Mechagodzilla. So a ruined city of Hong Kong is obviously going to have a bunch of Mechagodzilla debris everywhere. There is a giant Robo-Dino corpse just vibing out in Hong Kong. It stands to reason that it's very likely that either Monarch or Apex are going to dispatch cleanup services to help begin the process of repairing and cleaning up Hong Kong after the fight. Notice too how they were very specific in saying that you will have to use, among other things, the colossal strength of the Titans as you survive the desolated city. This is where I get cooking. My dream scenario for this is that we are playing as an agent of Monarch, part of a special task force within Monarch that are set out to recover this lost tech from Apex. Based on the events of Godzilla and Kong, no spoilers really, but there was no mention of Apex cybernetics in that movie, so I have to assume after the CEO of that company got flambéed by his own creation that we're likely not going to see Apex around anymore. So I have to assume that we would be playing as someone from Monarch. But we're probably going to play a special agent from Monarch that has to go into Hong Kong, rescue survivors, and help the cleanup efforts of the battle. Wouldn't it be dope as hell if we played as an agent of Monarch that was gathering technology of Mechagodzilla and actually using that technology to power themselves up and make them more capable of surviving Hong Kong after this fight? Now, it's the surviving aspect here that I'm very interested to see. If you've looked at this developer's prior platforming games, there's two things. They do have normal enemies in their levels, but I actually noticed that in the footage that a lot of these games feature environmental hazards as much as regular enemies. So I have to wonder, if we are getting an action-adventure platformer here, if there's probably not going to be traditional enemies in the game, but this is a ruined city after the aftermath of a KAIJU battle. You gotta think it's probably not gonna be the safest place. It's very likely that we are surviving against the natural environment of a desolated Hong Kong, and that could be a really interesting platformer. However, I think what would make a platformer like that interesting is if they went a pseudo-Metroidvania approach, where in order to survive this city and use the strength of the Titans, what other man-made Titan exists than Mechagodzilla himself? Salvaging equipment from Mechagodzilla and becoming almost this pseudo-cyborg super soldier using Mechagodzilla's tech as you navigate the city, that sounds really cool to me, and I would love it if this game went in that direction. That's just my theory, how I think the game could go. But this is exciting, man. Like, almost a decade ago when the Monsterverse started, it was unheard of that we would get Godzilla video games, right? We had the 2014 tie-ins with the PlayStation 3 Godzilla games, some mobile games here and there. But for over a decade, the Godzilla license hasn't really been used in AAA games anymore. So to know that we will get a new Godzilla game on PC and consoles this year, it's got me excited. And we are on the cusp of Summer Games Fest 2024. This would be a perfect time to announce that. It doesn't have to be this big, grandiose event. I think the Monsterverse knows the audience that it appeals to, and I think there's enough of us around that is keeping it afloat. Even still, I think the marketing should absolutely begin soon for a game like this, and also actively understanding just how big of a game this could potentially be. These are indie developers, and they did mention in the post here that this is going to be their biggest project yet. They've got that legendary Monsterverse dough behind them, man. I can't expect that they're going to be shorted when it comes to developing a game like this. So it is very exciting. I am stoked to see what this game looks like, and rest assured, we're going to talk about it on this channel the second we know anything about it. So be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on that video when that comes out. Outside of official Godzilla gaming content, there's actually a very, very promising looking fan project that is currently in the works. I've mentioned these guys in passing in some of my other, random indie videos, Godzilla game-related videos, but Godzilla Save the Earth Melee. It is what it says on the tin right here. It is a Godzilla fighting game remastered. It is a fan-made mod for Save the Earth. These guys actually did an overhaul of Godzilla Unleashed and Destroy All Monsters. They've been doing mods for these Godzilla Pipeworks games for some time, but this one looks to be their biggest project yet. You may have seen a couple of the trailers for this fan game, floating around the internet for some time, but they're doing the same things that Unleashed was doing when it came to expanding the roster. We're going to have separate Godzilla characters for the 90s iteration and Millennium. They've even pulled in the legendary version of Godzilla as his own separate character, and look at my beautiful pink boy right here. We've got the evolved version as a skin. You can clearly tell that the graphical quality of some of these models is a step above what originally Save the Earth was, and that should tell you immediately what the scale of this mod is looking to achieve. Now, this game's been floating around for some time. There's been some side tournaments with a couple of folks that got demos of the early builds of the game, but it's not currently widely available to the public. But in these past couple of months, man, they have just been churning out updates and gameplay and showing off the game from front to back, which leads me to believe that we're either on the cusp of a new playable build being released soon, or even the final release. Just looking at some of the artwork they've been doing, they even have Godzilla against Mechagodzilla era Millennium Goji up in this. This is wild, man. Really, all I'm trying to say here is that this is going to be potentially a spiritual successor to the Pipeworks Godzilla trilogy. And even though this only started as a remaster, these guys have gone on record saying that this project has evolved beyond the scope of a remaster, and they see it as a fourth game in the series. With the fact that they are adding monsters from Godzilla Unleashed, they're adding a butt ton of skins, and they've overhauled the gameplay engine to allow for crazy fast gameplay and actually fighting game tournament viable combo strategies. It is insane that we have a competitive Godzilla fighting game in the works. But again, this is not going to be an official release. You won't buy this anywhere. You will need to emulate Godzilla Save the Earth in order to utilize this mod. So keep your eyes peeled on the Godzilla Save the Earth Melee Twitter account for more updates on this amazing project, and rest assured, I want to talk about this baby when it comes out too. But that's all I wanted to say today on the future of Godzilla gaming in the world today. It's really weird that I get to say that. I feel an ounce of pride that the Monsterverse has done so well as it has that we're finally talking about getting games again. It reminds me of the Save the Earth days when we would actively anticipate a new Godzilla game. It felt inevitable. Given that I have had such a blast sharing my love of this franchise with you guys over these past couple of videos, we're gonna keep a pulse on the Godzilla gaming news for the time being. There's other stuff I want to talk about that isn't Godzilla related, in case you're getting sick of it at this point. Comment down below if there's something that you'd be interested in me talking about, whether it's a specific game, genre of game, a movie that you liked, anything that you'd like to see come out of the All Night channel in 2024, comment down below. Let me know. But that's all I've got to say here today. Don't forget to like the video, show the algorithm some love, subscribe for more content, and as always, I've been your host All Night, and do not forget to stay loved, keep loving, and have a wonderful night.